I thought it was funny that he respectfully declines as if he's still so desperate for that approval from an authority figure. But it really...
That line right there. I mean, I hope she heals, but I also hope the snark keeps coming, because Olivia can snark like none other. She absolutely roasted him at that sentencing. It was so brilliant. I feel like Steve Goncalves was the warm-up, and Olivia just absolutely handed it to him. And she said in that interview with Brian Enton that his eyes were full of rage, that he was clenching his jaw and he looked absolutely enraged. So I really hope that she got under his skin. I think she did, right? Okay, so here we have one of the 314 documents. It is the supplementary document 194. Look, sequence number 194. Okay, so it's in the pile there somewhere. I wanted to start with this because, as we know, this is where it started for this convicted killer. If you don't know anything about the case, please expand the description box, find the link to the playlist, and there you can find a summary of everything. You could also just find a case background write-up quickly as well in the description box, right? Okay, so now this is, and this is dated, it's a name, Brett Payne, date 5/10/23 of this document, Moscow Police Department Law Supplemental Narrative. So now that the gag order is lifted, now that the dude has been sentenced, a lot of information is coming out, and I'm sure lots more will come out, because 250 documents or so are still sealed, and they're going to meticulously go through that. There's multiple agencies involved from Pennsylvania, where Wannabe was arrested, and then he was extradited to Idaho, and then he was moved for a new venue for his trial, and then remember, he pleaded guilty. So all of that, there's multiple agencies involved, lots of things will come out. Jail calls have been requested and denied. We want to know, because apparently he spoke to his mommy for many hours a day on video call, according to one of the other inmates. But let's look at this. It says on December 29th, if you know where this starts with his arrest, that SWAT team went in there in the middle of the night and just zip-tied everybody and took him out of there. And then the police spoke to him. And thinking about that, just how they went into the home. Remember, they said they saw him standing in the kitchen with baggies and gloves and doing all sorts of things. And he was listening to that slowed down reverb version of Britney Spears' Criminal. Do you remember that? That's what Dateline told us. So picture the scene, like he's in his parents' house and he's doing all these weird things in the middle of the night, and he's listening to that Britney Spears Criminal song, which says, "Mama, I'm in love with the criminal." Aha. As if, anyway, unfortunately some people will be. That's called hybristophilia, and those people need help, okay? It's not cute. Moving on, then they went in there and they arrested him. And now they went and took him to the police station and they spoke to Bryan Kohberger, right? Mr. Wannabe, Mr. Convicted. So now it says on December 29th, ISP Detective Sergeant Gilbertson. We saw Sergeant Gilbertson at the press conference that was after the sentencing. FBI Special Agent Shirley and I arrived in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, in preparation for the service of the arrest and search warrants for Kohberger and his family's residence at redacted Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. After several coordination meetings, Detective Gilbertson, Special Agent Shirley and I drove to the Pennsylvania State Police Barracks at Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, to await the arrival of Kohberger after his arrest and to interview him upon his arrival. So, yeah, they got the guy and they were ready to interview him, all right? So, they say, at approximately 0200 hours, so 2 in the morning, on December 30th of 2022, Kohberger was brought to the PSP Stroudsburg Barracks and placed in an interview room. The interview was recorded on the built-in video system at the barracks, as well as Detective Gilbertson's pocket recorder. See, we want that. Excuse me. FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. We would like to see that. Even though he didn't talk at all, he lawyered up before they got to any talks about the crime, and that they suspected he was, the killer. But wait till you hear how he asked for a lawyer. Oh my word, this guy. We want to see it anyway, right? So maybe one day we will. Maybe one day we will. Sarcasm. Oh, shame. I appreciate that so much. You said, I saw so many people with documents from the doc dump yesterday, but I've been waiting for you. I appreciate that. I was busy working hard behind the scenes here on reading all of these, and it's actually quite exhausting, I won't lie. But I'm very glad that I did, so that we're armed with information, and I'll bring you all the information I can, right? Okay, so back to this, 2 in the morning. And I think he felt like a very lucky boy, like, oh my word, I'm going to the police barracks. Okay, so you'll see why. Detective Gilbertson and I were the interviewers present. This is a summary of our interview with Kohberger, and it is not a verbatim transcript of the interview. Okay, we would like that too. We would like that as well, the verbatim one. A full interview transcription will be attached to this case file. It wasn't, not in these released ones, but hopefully we can get it one day. Detective Gilbertson and I began by introducing ourselves and stating which agencies we represented. When I stated who I was, Kohberger stated, "You do look familiar." This guy and his pickup lines, you know? Remember when he said on a Tinder date, "Hey, great birthing hips"? No, dude, none of that, okay? And there's also other records where he was talking to a woman on Tinder and they connected, and then he said, "Hey, what do you think's the most scary way to die?" And she's like, "What?" I think stabbing. And he's like, "With a K-bar, right?" Can you imagine? That's how this guy talks to people that he wants to date. Well, even here, he's like, he goes, they say, "When I stated who I was, Kohberger stated, 'You do look familiar.'" And you could picture it, right? If you've seen his traffic stop, the two with his dad. If you've seen the one where the police officer said, "You ran a red light," and he's like, "Actually, no. I'm from Pennsylvania and this is how it works." That demeanor, we've seen quite a bit of his demeanor now, from him pleading guilty to him respectfully declining to say a word. Yeah, which is better than what Stefan Stearns did at his sentencing. Rather don't say a word. Thank you very much. But here, can you, I'm like, when I read that, I'm like, I'm going to snark at that. "You do look familiar." Detective Gilbertson and I prepared our note-taking materials, and Detective Gilbertson read Kohberger his Miranda rights advisement. He was probably saying it under his voice at the same time. He'd probably been reciting it in the mirror all this time. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he understood his rights, to which he replied, he did. After collecting Kohberger's personal information and inquiring about any medications, Detective Gilbertson and I began to speak to Kohberger. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger about the SWAT operation at the house, to which Kohberger replied that, yeah, he was concerned about his parents and his dog. Okay then, right? So that was his concern at that point. Where's my mom? Well, he said parents. And what about my dog? You're concerned about your dog? You freaking quadruple killer? You know, he was vegan, okay, so he would be concerned about the dog. But still, that's what your priorities are in this moment. You're not nervous. You cool, calm, and collected like the psychopath you probably are. Wow. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he was going to Washington State University, to which he replied he was. And I'm doing that face because I feel like that is what he would be doing. He'd be like, "Yes, I am." "I do attend WSU." And then that's his little conversation flag. He wants to brag all about that. I can't believe it. You know? Like, I can't believe it. He wants to talk about all his academic achievements, like as if I'm the one that got away. Yeah, applied for that internship before you guys rejected me. You kicked me out of that youth program. If you don't know any of this information I'm telling you, please make sure that you go and watch the video that I made all about his background, the visual snow, the youth program, his childhood, all the things that I could find, right? Okay, so it says, he asked if he was going to Washington State University, to which he replied he was. We made small talk with Kohberger about sports for some time. Are you sure, guys? Was that the right topic? Sports, did he bring that up? I don't know about that. He was an athlete, okay? He liked to run. Let's say that. He liked to run. He did some karate in his life. But I mean, okay, they made small talk about sport. That must have been awkward. Kohberger stated he didn't follow WSU football much, but he was a baseball fan. Okay. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he had only been at WSU for one semester. Kohberger confirmed this and said he came to WSU with his father on July 1st. That is a lie. He arrived on June 23rd. So I don't know why he says July 1st to them. Maybe that's when his semester started. But he arrived, they have it on record, they say on or about June 23rd, not July 1st, right? Rebecca says, "I've been waiting for you to share these documents. I'd rather hear all of this information with Mama Grizzly and the Grizzlies. Thank you so much." Pernille says, "Wannabe athlete." Yeah, they want to be everything, right? So you guys saw his new mugshot, right? You saw what it looks like or no? I gave you a bit of a jump scare there on a YouTube short yesterday. If you haven't seen it, then trigger warning, jump scare alert. There it is. Look at this guy. He's looking mighty proud of himself, all clean shaven. My word. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know what to say. But there it is. I do not know why there's 2 L's drawn on his shirt. I think it means large, but I don't know why it's in different writing. I see people asking that on social media all the time. I don't know. I don't really care. Whatever. But there it is. Okay, so back to the interview. Again, on December 29th of 2022. Remember, the murders happened November 13th of 2022. And he left Moscow, Idaho. Well, actually, it was actually in Pullman, Washington. He left Pullman, Washington around December 15th. Okay, so he was only home for what, like just about 2 weeks. So he had Christmas there. December 29th, they busted in that house and they got him. Okay, so someone says, firstly, Janine says there was a dark entity behind his eyes, snark on. Yeah, those eyes, man. And Susie Q says, can someone pin the video G was talking about? It's on the playlist, okay? You will find it. It's on the playlist. So I hope my titles and thumbnails are quite clear. You guys were saying L for double loser. I think that's what it is. L, a curly one, a normal one, just to make sure all the loser marks are on there. Okay, so back to this. Kohberger stated he didn't follow WSU football much. Really, we didn't guess that. We thought you were a total jock, bro. We thought everybody wanted you and you were a jock and like you followed football all the way. Anyway, he had to state the obvious. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he'd only been at WSU for 1 semester. Kohberger confirmed this and he said that he came to WSU with his father on July 1st. Kohberger then went on to say that he was a first-year PhD student in criminal justice and criminology. Can you imagine the arrogance as he said that? Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger what the process was to apply for a PhD. Kohberger stated that he applied to 2 places, UC, Irvine, and WSU. Kohberger said he was going to graduate with his master's in criminal justice from DeSales and was inspired. Yeah, in the worst way, bro. Oh, you were inspired. You're not going to give any credit to your professor who recommended you? You were the 2nd person in 10 years she recommended, but nope, females get no credit with this guy. No, so he's just like, I applied and I chose this and this. All right. Kohberger said, and he was inspired. Wow. Kohberger then asked if it was okay to engage in small talk like we were, to which we replied it was. Oh, shame. Baby boy needs to ask permission if he can make small talk with the police officers. Yes, you can. If they could fill in the blanks, they'd be like, it's a little weird, but sure. Sure, dude. Tell us more about your ego. We'd love to hear it. Okay, so after briefly mentioning he was strengthened by the fact that his mother and father were okay, Kohberger said he applied to the 2 aforementioned schools because they did not require the GRE exam. Kohberger then spoke about the GRE for a brief time and then said he was accepted by WSU. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger what led him down the road of becoming a professor. Kohberger stated it was because he loved being in college and stated that knowledge was far more important to him than money. Aw, what a humble guy. He sounds like freaking Brian Laundrie, you know, from Gabby Petito's case when Brian Laundrie was all like, I don't drink water from plastic bottles. I am better than everyone else. That's basically the vibe he's giving off here. It's like, actually, I think that knowledge is far more important than money. Please put it in context. If anyone is watching here and you feel that knowledge is more important than money, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I think so too, but let's put it in context here. What he's saying, that he killed 4 people, wasted everybody's time, then pleaded guilty, like the coward he is. And here he's just like, actually, I mean, why insert that? Why are you telling these police officers that? Oh, what a clever boy. Anyway, here's a noddy badge for you. You get a gold star from us. I wonder what they said. Like, how did they look at him like, okay, cool. Kohberger added that WSU had a good program to study under, and then said, you guys know all about this more than likely. Kohberger then asked questions about the University of Idaho and other Idaho universities before stating that he didn't know much about Idaho or Washington and had not left the tri-state area much. Liar. Kohberger then returned to speaking about his focus on learning and how he thought he could obtain his doctorate degree. He probably still thinks it. That's why he pleaded guilty. So he can go to Gen Pop and further his education and be a doctor loser over there. And if this is how he's going to strike up small talk with people, good luck in prison, bro. He's going to be in there like, hello, did you know that I'm a professor? And they're going to be like, bro, what? Okay, privilege. What are you doing in here? What the hell is this? No, I think that actually knowledge is more important than money. All right. Who's your audience, bro? These people probably didn't have that. Many of them wouldn't have the opportunities you had, and look what you did with it. Good luck getting your vegan supplements in prison. Because, by the way, they found like a receipt or something. In one of the documents, they say they rechecked his trunk, and in it they found a receipt from Amazon for a K-bar knife, sheath, and vegan supplements. Now, I am not snarking at vegans. I was a hardcore vegan for a long time. Okay, I've been there, done that, right? Then I had iron problems. So anyway, that's my own medical thing. But the thing is, I'm not snarking at that. I'm snarking at him being like, I am a badass. I am like Ted Bundy. I'm like Danny Rowling. If you guys haven't read up on Danny Rowling, we covered it once upon a time. His crimes are very similar to Danny Rowling's. Go look at that. Go look at it. That's your homework for today. But this guy drove his mama's white Elantra in the dark. He's like a shadow in the night with his mother's white Elantra. Who the F commits a crime in a white car? Like, what are you doing, bro? That's all you had? Your mom's white Elantra and you drove around there with your vegan supplements in the back? No. You're not a badass. You are a wannabe, like Olivia said. Okay, so let me not lose my place, sorry. He hadn't left the tri-state area much. Kohberger then returned, obviously not, because he was stalking people. Okay, Kohberger then returned to speaking about his focus on learning how he thought he could obtain his doctorate degree. Kohberger then said he recently returned home to see his family. Yeah, they saw that. They stopped you twice on the way. You didn't find that odd? Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his time at DeSales University. Kohberger spoke for some time about his time at Northampton Community College and DeSales. Kohberger then spoke about how he became interested in criminal justice, because, everybody wants to study his mind, and stated that he thought about being a police officer, but he didn't want to make that commitment unless he was absolutely sure. Again, he's lying. He's totally lying, because in high school, it was his ultimate dream to be a police officer. In fact, he wanted to be an army ranger. We've seen some photos of him doing push-ups at that point, okay? And he wanted to be, and guess what? He got kicked out of the youth program because he freaked out girls on the same program. He was inappropriate to the level they had to kick him out of the program. When he got to Pullman, Washington, he had applied to be part of the internship program there at the Pullman Police Department. And he was not chosen. And the chief there actually did some interviews recently. I'm sure you'll see them on YouTube. Maybe you've seen them already. And he said, well, his demeanor was just strange, and I just didn't think he would build trust with the other staff. I just didn't think that he could actually build the trust that we wanted, right? So, okay, then, thank you so much, Molly. Now, one more time, he has to tell them just how very, very, very smart he is, okay? So he says, he spoke, wait. One more time, he said, he thought about being a police officer, but did not want to make that commitment unless he was absolutely sure. He's in control, okay? It's not everyone kicking him out. Kohberger then continued to speak about his education and universities. He also spoke more about the process to get into a PhD program and how competitive it can be. Yes, we know. You're such a winner. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about his move to Washington. Kohberger said he drove across the country and he wanted the challenge of driving cross-country and experiencing it with his father. Kohberger then said, especially if he had that visual snow he talked about. Kohberger then said he took a different route home back with his father for Christmas break to avoid snow. By snow, do you mean police? Do you mean being arrested? Kohberger spoke about his travels and the risks of such travels in winter, because remember, he's a very brave boy. He's an adventurer. So he took big risks by driving home with his daddy. At 28 years old. Kohberger then began to speak about the beauty of the environment and its relationship to God and a higher power. We spoke about this for some time, and Kohberger said that he was raised Christian, but he was always a skeptic, except when confronted with the beauty of the natural world. Says a killer. Do you know what I mean? Like, this guy's like, wow, the wonders, the beauty of the nature. I've always been a skeptic. Let me tell you about my religious beliefs. And they're like, okay. And he's like, he's always been a skeptic, except, when confronted with the beauty of the natural world. In the dark? When you go hiking in the dark or what? Trying to be Ted Bundy? What's going on there, right? Bert's mom too said, from Tuscaloosa, is that Alabama? By the way, a conductor on the Canton Line Boston commuter rail handed out root beer barrels. Oh, no. Did you reject them? Did you eat them? I don't know. Okay, so Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he had ever been to the Pacific Northwest prior to coming to WSU, and Kohberger said he had not. I asked Kohberger if he and his father made any stops along their way back to Pennsylvania. He told me they visited Colorado, but the main goal was just to drive, because he's got so much stamina. Okay, he just needs them to know that. Kohberger then told a story about seeing an unmarked, I like how they say, Kohberger then told a story. He told many stories that day, okay, about seeing an unmarked police car near Kansas City speed up behind him, catch up to another vehicle, turn on its emergency lights, and then drive away. Kohberger thought this was strange and unsure why it occurred. But he doesn't bring up the twice that he was stopped and then he lied about, we're going to go get Thai food. Really? You're going to go get Thai food right now? That's where you're on your way to? Okay. Anywho, you know what was interesting is on those traffic stops, the car was very dirty, right? And in the documents, they say, neighbors said his car was always so spotless, so clean, even in the rain. So he probably did that on purpose as well, just to be like, mysterious. Like, this can't possibly be me and my clean mom's Elantra. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger about the job that he mentioned. Kohberger stated he was a teaching assistant, about to be fired. Kohberger then talked about how busy he was and how the funding package that comes along with being a teaching assistant is what makes the extra work worth it. Kohberger then discussed, I thought money wasn't important to you, bro. I thought knowledge, I thought that knowledge was more important to you. But here you're saying that the funding package that comes along with being a teaching assistant is what makes the extra work worth it. Oh, Kohberger, he's so very wealthy here, telling the cops. Kohberger then discussed ongoing projects with WSU PD and Pullman PD. No ongoing projects, rejected. Kohberger spoke more about how being a TA is essentially assisting the professors and the department. He's there to assist with his wisdom. Kohberger stated he did not get to assist with teaching, with the exception of assisting with office hours. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he would be a TA again next semester, and Kohberger replied that he would. Liar, you're about to get fired. You're already fired. He already got his letter to say that you're done. You've made so many females uncomfortable. You are disrespectful. You're done. You're out, okay? He already got the letter sent to his home there, his parents' home in Pennsylvania. So now he's like, yes, I will be a TA. Why are you lying to the police? The FBI is right there. What do you mean? They should charge him with that as well. Kohberger then stated that he understood why we were engaging in small talk. Now, here's the thing. Remember how Olivia said he's just like desperate need for approval from authority? This is how the dude decides to ask for a lawyer. He understood why we were engaging in small talk, but would appreciate it. It would be nice. It would be lovely if we explained it to him what he was doing there. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger why he thought we were there. He said that he wanted Detective Gilbertson to tell him. Detective Gilbertson said, we were there because of what occurred in Moscow, but did not provide any further detail. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he watched the news. Kohberger said, I watched the news. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger why he thought I looked familiar. Shame. That bothered Detective Gilbertson. He's like, why do you think I look familiar? And so Kohberger said he wasn't sure and stated that I had a familiar face and looked like someone he used to know. Detective Gilbertson then said we were there because of what happened in November just off the University of Idaho campus. Detective Gilbertson asked Kohberger if he knew what that was, to which Kohberger replied, of course. When prompted to elaborate, Kohberger said it was the incident we had been investigating for. How long has it been? Kohberger said there were probably several incidents, and then said he was aware of a homicide because of a WSU alert that he received. Detective Gilbertson asked when Kohberger received the alert. Kohberger said he wasn't sure, but he thought it was sometime the previous month. Detective Gilbertson confirmed that was why we were there and asked if Kohberger wanted to talk about that. Kohberger replied, well, I think I would need a lawyer. You think? Oh my word. Kohberger then asked if we would explain to him what we were there for specifically, and added that he was tired. Oh my word. Did he do the yawn, the thing like Stefan Stones did, like people do in these police interviews? I'm very tired. Why, bro? I thought you were a night owl. I thought you're normally up all night. That's what other inmates say. In the 2.5 years that you were in there, you were up all night, annoying everybody. Okay, so they also said he washed his hands dozens of times and that he spoke to his mother for hours and hours on video calls. But, you know, it's like, so suddenly, he's so weak. He is so weak, oh my word. To say he would like to explain what we were there for specifically, and added he was tired. Oh, we're here because your dumbass left the knife sheath behind. That's why, obviously. You are so busted, bro. So, okay, then it says, Detective Gilbertson again stated we were investigating the homicides of the 4 students and that we had questions and things that we hoped that Kohberger would help us understand. Kohberger sat back and said he had the utmost respect for law enforcement, but stated it was a constitutional right to speak to an attorney. He is painfully polite, right? Can you imagine when faced with this? The cops are there, FBI's there, your house has been raided, the door's been broken down, windows are shattered, your parents were zip tied. Okay? And so, for their own safety, you dragged out of there, you're in the cop car, allegedly saying, hey, when this is all over, maybe we could like grab a cup of coffee. But then, they put you in the interview room. They're telling you now they're here because of the quadruple homicides that occurred. That's why they're here in Pennsylvania, like earth to this dude. They're in Pennsylvania. They traveled all this way to talk to you. Not because you're special, because you're very guilty. And so for him to face that moment and say, he sat back and said, I have the utmost respect for law enforcement, but it is my constitutional right to speak to an attorney. Like, yeah, dumbass, they know that. Detective Gilbertson affirmed this. Kohberger then re-engaged and said the only thing he heard of from Moscow was an alert that came to his phone. Kohberger then said he wanted to talk to an attorney. Detective Gilbertson said we would stop now because Kohberger wanted to speak to an attorney. Kohberger then asked where his parents were and where his dog was. Yeah, they already told you that in the beginning. But okay, Kohberger re-engaged again and asked what questions we would have for him. Why, would you like a survey? You want them to survey you? You wish, dude. Detective Gilbertson then asked Kohberger again if he understood his rights and asked specifically what Kohberger wished. Kohberger asked what specifically we wanted to talk to him about and the reason. He's like, study me, I'm amazing, aren't I? Like, really not special. Kohberger asked what specifically, okay, we already said that. I told Kohberger that he invoked his Fifth Amendment rights and we were not going to ask him any further questions. Kohberger asked again for the reason he was there, but added that he would like to talk to an attorney. At this point, we concluded our interview with Kohberger and left the room. And that's it. Molly says people owe Dylan and Bethany the biggest apologies. I highly doubt it's people here, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. I've not attacked them. I've never wanted to. I've always given them the benefit of the doubt, but I understand what you're saying, Molly. Thank you for your sticker. Say it with your chest. So that is the details of the interview, because at that point, I mean, he says, I want to speak to an attorney. Okay. And they're like, all right. And he's like, but what do you want to know? What questions do you want to ask me? And they're like, no, bro, you just asked for an attorney. Yeah, but do you want to ask me anything? What am I here for? Where's my mom? Where's my dog? What's happening? Also, do you want to maybe study me? No one wants to study you. Okay. Keep it real. Welcome. So that is what we are focusing on today. That's it for that one. If you want to go and check out any of the other, like the sentencing, everything about his background, all the things. I'll also be making some YouTube shorts for you with highlights from the sentencing. I've been doing that already. So if you see more of them, you know why. Because like some of those moments, we got to pretty much store them that way in shorts so we can revisit those moments because they were so good. Oh my word, those victim impact statements were very, very powerful, right? Okay. Cynthia says, Olivia and Grizzly would be fast friends. I love their confidence. Snark, right? Okay, so if you have other questions, based on this newly released information, there's lots of documents, 314 of them. I would say, I don't know, maybe I actually don't know what number to put on it. Maybe 80 of them are quite boring. It's just search warrants, you know, saying we got a search warrant for this, and then we got a thumb drive and that and that. So that's not, but there are some interesting things in the documents. If you're not following coverage anywhere else, then I understand that you wouldn't even know, like, what are you going to ask? Because you haven't seen the information. I'm going to bring you the information. But if you are generally following this newly released information, let me know in the comments below what your questions are, what topics you'd like me to tackle, because there's many ways that we can, you know, look at all this information, and I'll be working hard at that, okay? Today is July 25th of 2025, and at 9 p.m. Eastern time, which is 3 in the morning for me, thank you very much, I will be on Court TV. You will not see it on YouTube yet. They normally upload it there days later, okay? But I will be on, you go to courttv.com, the website, and you click watch live. If you have a VPN, if you're outside of the USA, you might need a virtual private network like ExpressVPN or NordVPN or whatever to watch it. If you still can't, don't worry, I'll always do my best to capture it in case they don't upload it to YouTube, and then I'll put it on a playlist or something, right? But I will be there discussing this case with Julia Janae, standing in for Vinny because he's on holiday. So I will be there. Okay, so that's where you can catch me later. I will be back this weekend to tackle more information from the documents, and I'm looking forward to read your comments, your questions. Let me know what you think of this police interview. I mean, 45 minutes of small talk and showing off about his academic performance and just like his beliefs and everything like that. They didn't ask, right? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you again very soon. Sending lots of love to the family and friends of the victims. And stay safe.